Hey, listen to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MP. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype we got Josh.
Hey!
I'm gonna jump over. We just had the Royal Rumble on the main roster, and there's plenty to talk about over there, but there is a show coming up this weekend, NXT Vengeance Day. As of time of recording, NXT aired 5 minutes ago, so hopefully we got the latest and greatest up-to-date information here. And I'm just gonna, let's start at the top of the card. NXT Championship on the line. Oba Femi versus Austin Theory versus Grayson Waller. And we got a Wesley thrown in there to make it a fatal four-way.
The classic multi-man match. That should be fun to see how it plays out. Here.
Yeah, it was obviously Femi and it was A-Town Down Under in the triple threat, and they keep playing this will they, won't they, with Austin Theory turning on Grayson. I don't know if that's something they're going to do. Obviously, that has main roster implications, if that is something they end up doing, but in the same way, I don't see Theory picking up the title, I don't see Waller picking up the title, and I don't see Wesley as the last minute slide in as the fourth man be picking up the title either. This is Oba Femi's time, and I think he's going to stay in the throne for a little bit longer.
Yeah, absolutely. It wouldn't make sense to change it at this event. If you're going to change the title from Oba Femi, it's got to be stand up and deliver. If it's going to be this early into his run. But again, it also comes to the fact that I don't have a clue on who that would be. For it, because at this point it's like really early in his reign.
Yeah, there's a couple of the sort of, I guess, main event guys on NXT that are floating around, but they're all in other matches or other feuds right now, and there's nobody that feels like they're lined up to take that shot. But in classic NXT fashion, we could just end this show with someone coming out and calling their shot.
Yeah. That was one of the best things about like the really old school takeovers. Was just randomly seeing somebody appear in the crowd or at the end of the show and make it known they're here and they want the champion.
Well,
and then you have Kevin Owens who comes out to celebrate and then attacks his best friend.
Well, I don't know if he wants the championship. I'm sure he does eventually, but we did get this week on NXT Ricky Starks from AEW popping on over. We thought, as the contract came up, this was an obvious choice for him to make. Maybe he's a shot at Oba Femi. Maybe we strap him straight to the main event. I don't see him necessarily as the guy to dethrone Femi, but I could see him, jumping into that main event.
Yeah. I mean, they basically did that with Ethan Page. When he came over, immediately threw him into the main event and gave him the title. I kind of want to see them like build Ricky a little bit slower than that, because we've definitely seen some of the issues slingshotting Ethan Page straight to the top has had when he came back down. But yeah, you definitely have to wait and see with Ricky, because I think there's a lot there. It's just a matter of polishing the diamond, and the question is, will the diamond break?
Yeah. And you spoke about Ethan Page there. Good little transition. He's got himself a singles match against Javon Evans, and I guess that is where Ethan Page has gone from, right? He came in, he slingshotted straight into the main event, and now is he going to be the vehicle to put over Javon Evans into that next echelon for him?
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. Honestly, I'd say more than likely, probably so. I don't think it can really hurt Ethan to lose here. It definitely can hurt Javon Evans. Mm-hmm. And Evans is one of the guys that I'm looking at on the roster right now that I could definitely 1,000% see beating Oba Femi. But losing here kills his momentum and makes that less likely. So I think he beats Ethan Page. But I think this is not the end for these two. I think after the match, Ethan Page just lays him out, and it builds to a stipulation match for Stand Up and Deliver.
Yeah, this is one of those ones where it has been like a blood feud where they have, I guess just Ethan, it's been a pretty one-sided one, where Ethan's just been beaten up on Evans, and it is strange for it to be a singles match. So I think you're right, potentially building towards that April premium live event, Stand and Deliver. But if we're also looking at people who could be on Oba Femi's level, two of his more recent challenges getting a stipulation match between the two of them, Trick Williams, Eddie Thorpe going head-to-head in a strap match.
This is one of those, like, I'm really torn on. Because, obviously, I think it's the end of Trick Williams' time in NXT.
Mm-hmm.
But I really think his last match will be at Stand and Deliver, where he will go out. But I don't really, I hate saying this, I don't see a lot for Eddie Thorpe.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it just boils down to I'm not a fan of it, which is fine. If he goes up from here and goes on, fine. But I don't see him beating Trick Williams. I think 99% of the time, a strap match is won by the face. Very rarely is it won by a heel. And so I'm going with Trick Williams to win.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think Trick Williams picks up a win here in what is, I guess, a pseudo number one contendership match, and maybe that match at Stand and Deliver is Trick Williams, Oba Femi. Oba goes over the top cleanly, and Trick Williams heads up to the main roster. Given how much Williams has been eyeing Femi's title in the background scenes and stuff like that, and how Eddie and Trick and Oba all had this morphing triple threat feud, it feels like, the winner of this match could be that Stand and Deliver opponent, and maybe it is that ending for Trick Williams as he heads out of NXT and goes up to the main roster.
Yeah, I can see that. Personally, though, I don't want to see it.
Fair enough.
I'd rather have Trick Williams elevate somebody else, maybe even somebody even like Javon Evans, like we were just talked about, and have him be the last match for him.
Yeah.
But I don't want to see Williams in a championship match in his last match. I just feel like it would do more for NXT to have their guy, the guy that's been carrying them for the last year and a half, put over somebody and make that the guy that's building towards the bad guy, the ultimate bad guy in Oba Femi.
Yeah, that is fair enough. If we talk about tag team championships, you ignore the couple of weeks that Chase U held the belt. We're looking at almost 300 days now for Fraxium with those championships, and they've been taken on every challenger, whether that's on TNA Impact, whether that's on NXT, and at Vengeance Day, their opponents will be Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura.
I have to add, I hate to say this, I have no clue who Yoshiki is. And I think because of that, even though I'm kind of bored of the superhero tag team, because as you said, it's been basically 300 days since they've won the championships in the first place, I don't see Josh Briggs and Rando beating them.
I'll give you a rundown. Josh Briggs popped on over to Pro Wrestling Noah over in Japan for a little bit. He entered their N1 tournament over there, and the storyline is that he befriended Yoshiki while he was over in Noah, and then Noah has popped over now to NXT for his excursion. That sort of thing that I guess Japanese wrestlers go through as a part of their training coming on up. And so his excursion is over to NXT, and that's how they've sort of written that story together. I wouldn't be writing them off.
More of a reason to pick against them.
I wouldn't write them off. I think it could just be like a little one-off. If anything, they'd be transitional. But I don't know what's next for Fraxium. Yeah. It's the hard part.
Yeah, but again, as you said, you don't know what's next for Fraxium, but they at least would have a future as champions versus basically just handing the champions for like a month for the Briggs and Yoshiki, because you know that it would, because of the circumstances of Yoshiki being here temporarily, they're not going to hold the titles for long. If you're going to move the titles off of Fraxium, you might as well make it a more permanent change, especially since they annoyed us with the whole 2-week Chase U reign.
Fair enough. Well, if you're talking about championships changing hands, I got to look at Fallon Henley, the NXT Women's North American Champion, clutching desperately onto her title as Stephanie Vicure is running after her full speed with the title in her sights.
I'm going to go with Stephanie wins the match, but not the title. And I want to put that in stipulation because I think this is building towards her getting that title, but I don't think it's for Saturday. What I think happens is the numbers game gets involved.
Fair enough.
And there's a disqualification because the referee sees whatever happens, and then all the build between now and stand and deliver. And I've done a lot of talking about that because I assume that's the name of the NXT pay-per-view that WrestleMania weekend.
It is.
Because it's been that way the last 4 years.
Yep.
Is Stephanie slowly eliminating Fallon's help?
Yeah, I can definitely see it.
And turning it into a straight-up one-on-one match where she wins the match and the title, and at their WrestleMania. But they could just do a whole spot where the help gets thrown out during the match, and then Fallon Henley has no chance. If that happens, Stephanie Vaquer is walking out with the title. Full stop.
Yeah, it does seem like either Fatal Influence or some sort of cheating could keep the title in Fallon Henley's hands. If it is not for that, then yeah, she's losing the title for sure. And then, yeah, it's either now or April. I think by the end of April, Stephanie will have that Women's North American Championship for sure. And yeah, excited to see what she does with it when she does pick it up, whether it be this weekend or whether it be in a couple months' time. And then lastly, NXT loves those championship matches that were meant to be triple threats. It was Giulia defending her NXT Women's Championship against Bayley and Roxanne Perez, and then adding a fatal four-way opponent, Cora Jade, jumping in at the last moment, and we have another four-way match for a championship.
Well, obviously Giulia is retaining. I don't see there being any point in changing the title right now. Made such a big deal about her winning it. Bayley and Roxanne obviously have their own thing that they're doing across multiple brands at the moment. I think what happened is I think Roxanne hits her finisher on Bayley. Cora Jade goes to steal the win by taking out Roxanne, only for Giulia to take out Cora and pin Roxanne. And Cora versus Giulia is our match at Stand and Deliver.
Yeah, I think there's a few options with this because that women's division is just so stacked. I'm with you. Bayley, Roxanne, Perez got their own thing going on. Bayley already in the Elimination Chamber match, which I'm sure we'll talk about. Roxanne Perez still to get her shot into that. Bit of a tough opponent standing across there, but we'll get to it. They sort of the Austin Theory and the Grayson Waller of this match, where we're like, they're either main roster talent or practically main roster talent. We're not going to be shifting the belt to them. And then Cora Jade taking that Wesley spot of that late edition person who deserves to be in a championship match, but don't really have a shot of winning. And in that way, I think the NXT title and the Women's Championship are quite mirrors of each other. Really, the one thing that I wouldn't count out is Cora Jade has been jumping over to TNA a lot. She has been getting in the face of their Impact Women's TNA Knockouts champion, Marsha Slamovich. I wouldn't count out an appearance, maybe distracting Cora, if not getting physical. And that would be the only reason I wouldn't see Giulia Cora heading into Stand and Deliver, is if Cora is busy on TNA. Or maybe they want to set up some sort of Giulia Marsha exhibition match. I don't quite know what they want to do. If they want to play it nice, standard, stock and simple, then yeah, you're right. Giulia Cora makes sense. But there's a few little wrenches that could get thrown in.
Yeah, I mean, you just threw a major wrench into everything we talked about this entire show. What if they just make Stand and Deliver a straight-up Worlds Collide type event? And it's NXT versus TNA. The NXT champion versus the TNA champion. NXT tag team champions versus the TNA tag team champions. Etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, there's an option. I do think that there's got to be a number of TNA wrestlers involved in Stand and Deliver. We do have that working relationship. None of them appearing on NXT Vengeance Day, at least officially. And Yeah, Stand and Deliver coming up. It is WrestleMania weekend. Everybody's going to be in town. It makes a whole lot of sense to include some of them. Well, that is all we got for this side of the song. We got to go into it now, and it is going to be Julia's theme song, the current and hopefully reigning after this weekend NXT Women's Champion. And you're back for Wrestling Up on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MPR. I'm Grady, he's Josh. We're going to jump on over to the main roster, and let's talk Jey Uso. He won the Royal Rumble. He's made his call. We all knew he was going to pick Gunther, but now he's made it official. First match for WrestleMania 41, World Heavyweight Championship, Gunther, Jey Uso.
Yeah, it was pretty well. We knew it, but I think they did a good job of telling the story to get there.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great way to start the show. Having Uso, who's over as he is, start the show is never going to be a bad choice to get the energy flowing. And honestly, it makes the Elimination Chamber match more interesting because of what can spiral out of it. With who wins it.
Yeah.
Because that winner is facing Cody. Which I think was ultimately going to be the more interesting combination anyway of whoever won it with that match. But I think I'm extremely interested in seeing how this all plays out, because yes, we just had the match like 4 weeks ago, but it was a fraction away for the title changing. We're going to have to. They're going to take us on a ride for the next 5, 6, 7 weeks, 10 weeks. I think it was. I think Gunther said it was going to be 10 weeks of hell. We're going to be taken on a ride to get to WrestleMania. There will be ups and downs for Jey along the way, but we're going to see. I think we're going to see Jey Uso World Heavyweight Champion, and it is going to be one of those things that we're going to talk about years from now, going back and watching and enjoying it. It's going to be this era's Yesamania, Kofi Mania. In fact, I would compare it more to Kofi Mania than Yesamania, simply because it was a tag team guy that the fans got behind and forced the company to put in a main event spot at WrestleMania and get the world title.
Yeah. And I think, looking ahead at WrestleMania 41, having this sort of tentpole match booked in, and hopefully Charlotte ends up making her decision, especially if she makes the obvious one this week on SmackDown, we'll see, will sort of start to take shape the rest of the card around it. Because we've talked now for weeks about the amount of puzzle pieces or the amount of chess pieces that are floating around, and every time I look at it and I try and figure out where they're all going to fall, you got 6 people in the Elimination Chamber. In theory, one of them is going to go get a title match. That leaves you 5 main event guys and gals who, need spots on the WrestleMania card. And then you look further down, you're looking at Bron Breakker and his Intercontinental title. And we've got, Pete Dunne, Ludwig Kaiser, Penta, Dominic Mysterio, AJ Styles, Finn Balor if he doesn't get in to the chamber. So many upper mid-card pieces as well. And it's like both rosters are so stacked with people that you need to find positions for. And then I look at the SmackDown side of things and it's the exact same. You've got people who don't make it out of the chamber, and then you're like, oh, who's going to challenge for the United States title? And then you start listing it off and you're like, let's just have a 6-man, 8-man, multi-man match, because we've just got that much talent at the top of the rosters right now. And fingers crossed, everybody stays healthy for the next 10 weeks, touch all the wood around. It's looking really stacked, and any combinations that come out of this are going to lead to great matches.
All right. I just had a thought.
Go nuts.
You've mentioned how odd it is for Io Sky to get a shot at Rhea Ripley on the Raw after Elimination Chamber.
Mm-hmm.
What if that's because Charlotte isn't making her decision until after that? What if Charlotte isn't making her decision until at least Elimination Chamber?
Yeah.
And that is why they're able to do that title match afterwards, and and because you don't necessarily need a bunch of time to build Charlotte versus Tiffany, because Charlotte basically builds it all by her being who she is. And also, can we, speaking of IO, how about that tag team match?
Great match.
It was an amazing match on Raw. Couple mistakes which resulted in Liv Morgan getting busted the heck open, but it was what it was. But it was a phenomenal match, and it makes me want to see Io work her way into that WrestleMania match with whoever wins that chamber match. So I think the Women's World Heavyweight Championship match, I think it's going to be a triple threat. I think it'll be Rhea, the chamber winner, and Io Sky.
Yeah, I can definitely see it. I think you can't, with this many pieces on the board, not every match can be a one-on-one. And yeah, there's plenty of ways for Sky to work her way into that. Whether that's the chamber winner interfering in her match, just after the chamber, let's say for argument's sake, Liv Morgan wins the chamber, groan, interfering and costing Io her title shot the week after would very quickly and easily set up a triple threat match, or whoever that ends up being in the chamber. I don't see it necessarily being a one-on-one.
Yeah, I personally think it'll be Raquel Rodriguez. I think it'll be Rhea Ripley, Raquel Rodriguez, Io Sky. I think those will be the three pieces that end up in that end up interlocking and working. I could definitely be surprised, and it end up being somebody else. But I think there was a reason they specifically showed Rhea Ripley getting attacked by Raquel Rodriguez during that segment when she was talking to Io. Prior to Io's match that Rhea unfortunately got her disqualified. So I think regardless of how everything else works out, I really do think it'll be Raquel Rodriguez at least in that title match.
Yeah, we'll know for sure if that's even on the table next week. I think when Raquel has her chamber qualifying match against Roxanne Perez, should be an interesting one, but we're going to run out of time here, and I want to talk about Solo Sikoa coming back on SmackDown. We didn't quite know after he walked out, how long is he going to be gone for? When he comes back, will he still be aligned with his bloodline? What's going to happen? And the only thing we do truly know is that he still hates Cody Rhodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll really have to see how things it's one of those things where it's like we really don't know what they want to do with him.
Mm-hmm.
It does somewhat look like at the very least it's not going to be part of the bloodline because they never referenced it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can have maybe that's where we get like Cody having a title match on the pay-per-view, even though I really don't want to see it. Without purpose. But well, it's just there's so many questions with Solo that I just don't know.
I hope there's interesting answers. That's all I'm sitting here and hoping for. Because there's so many ways that you can take it, right? And if it's just Solo took a couple weeks off, returned back, and is going to fall into that exact same position leading Fatu and the Tongans, then I'm going to be a little bit disappointed. I want to see, the next stage, the next evolution, the next little twist in that bloodline storyline. And I'll tell you now, Solo Sikoa versus Cody Rhodes, where Solo is pretty much guaranteed to lose, is not that next twist. Or at least it ain't it for me.
No, that was the problem that we had when he faced him previously. We just couldn't see him winning the match, and that would be yet again another title match that Solo Sikoa gets that you don't deserve, that he just can't win.
Yeah.
And in this case, it's because it's a month before WrestleMania. They were not going to change that title on Elimination Chamber, right, and then potentially change it at the biggest show of the year.
Yeah.
So, but I want to see them do something different with Solo that just have him stand out more, and have him maybe have the bloodline mean something other um, than just like fodder for Cody, because that's what this bloodline has been for the most part. Has just been fodder for Cody, except when dealing with Roman.
Yeah.
Um, so I kind of want to just see them like branch it out to Solo starts to ordering the Tongans around, and suddenly he can't control Jacob Fatu. Like Fatu attacks somebody, and Solo tries to like like pull him back, but he won't listen. And it shows that because he lost the tribal combat, he starts losing the bloodline's respect.
Yeah. I feel like that's got to be where the twist goes. I don't know for sure, though. We'll have to wait and see. It's been great talking to you.
Bye, B.
You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/wrestling R&D up, our Twitter page, twitter.com/wrestling R&D up, or our YouTube page, youtube.com/wrestling RND up. And we will catch you next week.